Hello, everyone. I am Jayanto Mukherjee, Head of Apps and Cloud Portfolio for Sogeti, and I'm very happy to welcome you all on a topic that is on the minds of almost every client we speak to. Intelligent apps. Are they simply old code with new tricks, or do we need to debunk it? And to debunk this hype, I have with me today an esteemed panel of tech experts. My CTO, Pierre-Olivier Patin, leading the technology thought
Johan.
leadership for Sogeti on apps and cloud. John Dennison from Sogeti France, managing application architect. John Dragunas, AVP apps and cloud from Sogeti US. And last but not the least, Johan, our architect for AI and cloud from Sogeti Sweden. Without further ado, let me dive in immediately on this new term that is becoming absolutely table stake in all our discussions. And I would say it's literally a new norm in the industry that we hear called intelligent apps. But what does it really mean when you call an application intelligent?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that you got to think of certain characteristics that apps have evolved to having, right? So when you think of traditional modern apps, you think of very prescriptive. They might use certain patterns to make decisions on the fly, but they're still very they follow a certain pathway, right? Even with microservice architectures or dependency injection. What makes intelligent apps different is they don't necessarily follow that path. They learn, they adapt, they use contextual understanding, reasoning to figure stuff out. They use tools as a source of information, on demand. So I think it presents a very powerful paradigm shift, and also guides you to really rethinking your architecture quite a bit.
Yeah, I'd agree. I also think it's about trying to push intent. How can we use agents and conversational interaction with the application to actually drive business processes? How can we chain these workflows together to actually realize complex tasks with very little user interaction? And to do that, obviously, we need to focus on the model. Quite often, we need to decide what model to use because there's certain that are better for reasoning, other that are better for conversational, etc. We might also need to investigate small models, micro models, even customize your own models to reply to it. And then you've got the whole sort of knowledge context side of things, RAG, retrieval augmented generation, where you can actually upload data into your system to actually, sort of augment the accuracy of it. Knowledge-based augmented generation, that sort of thing. How we're going to host the LLMs, is it on-premise, private secure cloud, public cloud? And then, as we see with virtually any app, data is key. So how are we going to integrate that data into the application? How do we guarantee it's good data, there's the qualities behind it? And then how do we mesh all this together and make it work as a one?
As a wrap-up, an intelligent app is a next-generation application that integrates AI to interact naturally, respond in context, and adapt its behavior over time. It transforms static digital experience into dynamic, human-like interaction that enhance productivity and decision-making. These apps are central to build more responsive, efficient, and autonomous business system. So let's keep three main items: conversational experience, context-aware, and adaptive business logic until autonomy.
Great, Pop. But then, can we not simply call them as modern applications? Isn't applications built on newer technologies, such as copilots, or like John was saying, leveraging large language models, or the entire tight coupling of apps and data? Aren't they simply modern applications? Or is there a difference that you see in the way we are interacting with these new age applications? And then, do we need to move from the usage of this term of modern to really intelligent apps?
Well, the term intelligent app it's actually not a new term, so it's been around for quite a while, but it has a revival with the explosion of AI. So if modern apps are built on design principles like API first, microservice architecture, and rapid release cycles, that has made us move fast and innovate, right? But the applications, as John mentioned earlier, they are still rule-based and they do exactly what you're told. With intelligent apps, we offer an entirely new user experience where the user experience is personalized, context-based, and then allows for the application to learn based on the user and the application usage.
Yeah, I agree completely with that. The expectations that users have around applications are massively different, right? So hyper personalization, true insights on demand, being able to adjust to changing conditions, both conditions in data, conditions in the user's response, conditions to all sorts of new insights that are happening across multimodal capabilities, right? So I think being able to make those adjustments on the fly is becoming the absolute expectation, and so that's going to be something that is going to continue to drive us to rethink how we're building capabilities for our clients, how we're creating outcomes. And I'm sure we'll hear more about the additional expectations that come from those new, more compelling goals.
Yeah, I actually think it might actually also sort of change boundaries that we see between businesses and stuff, and allow synergies to form, new channels that will open, where we're actually more fluidly and dynamically exchanging information, and building processes that sort of self-heal, look after themselves, change, regulate, control things without human intervention, and only coming at that, bring that back once there's a problem or there's an issue or they require validation. So I actually see it being a fairly large landscape that's going to be impacted, and I think it's going to have a profound impact through virtually every application.
Okay. It's a good point that Johan mentioned that intelligent apps has been there for quite some time. Then let's come to the most pertinent question. Is it then really a hype that intelligent apps is nothing but custom development repackaged with newer features? Or do we need to debunk this and look at intelligent apps with a fresh pair of lens? Because it's truly a paradigm shift in the way apps behave, not only with the users, but also within themselves, as John, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super interesting question, because I think the answer is yes and yes, right? Is there hype? I think there's both sides of that exist, right? So there's probably a number of applications, traditional applications, that added a little bit of predictive analysis, a little bit of data around it, and suddenly the application is marketed and rebranded as an AI-powered solution, right? On the other end of the spectrum, though, there is legitimate solutions that are completely powered by AI. You'll recognize them in terms of some of the attributes they have across their core capabilities. You'll recognize that there's a different architecture associated with these, as I've referenced earlier. And so I think, yes, there is hype that exists, and that noise is going to be important for us to really dive into and showcase to our clients, where the hype can exist and how they can get past to create true business value.
So yes, so many things to say on this topic, but in some way this hype is real. But what we can say, it is also highly distracting, especially on medias. Everyone wants a piece of this AI conversation, and also we can share around this broadcast our enthusiasm the first time we try some GPT activities or initiative. But what we can see is this shift is real and it is mostly structural. So when we talk about Gen AI on more the purpose of today of intelligent apps, they are not a fad. They reflect a deeper shift. So we already mentioned in some way, but let's summarize. From static apps to adaptive context-aware agent, from human-triggered workflows to autonomous task orchestration, and from rule-based decision to reasoning with domain knowledge and language. But what is interesting also, and we can elaborate on it, is value comes from the integration, not exactly the model. It's from the integrating Gen AI into existing system, into apps, and into the business process that the value is really coming. And also, what we can mention is your organization maturity is a real differentiator. So any value-driven organization that we are meeting build capabilities, enablement, AI governance, platform, strategy, and elaborate meaningful use case. So I will say just in a nutshell, so it's not just a hype, it's a competitive edge if you treat it as a capacity.
Okay, very, very nice sum up, Bob. And what I understand is intelligent apps then cannot be equated directly to modern apps. And modern apps really forms the base to really be able to build intelligent functionality on top of it. So if I were to take an example, a typical search engine within an organization in their intranet setup would have utilized certain cloud native services, leveraging microservices architecture. And as a modern app, works fantastic. But then when you elevate it with a bot which can converse in natural language, which can get data from not only within, but also external to the organization for a particular topic, that would then become an intelligent app. So that's a scenario. So if that's something that we look at, there must be many more such scenarios. What could you share some examples of what are these different scenarios where you really create intelligent apps?
Well, as you've said, up until now, we sort of had a lot of migrations towards modern apps. That's basically been focused around things like how we can re-platform an application, perhaps to adapt that, make it more cloud compatible, to benefit from the flexibility, scalability, security that we have with cloud infrastructures, which obviously reduces costs and also keeps the application up to date. We can also refactor applications minimally afterward, all to take advantage of the cloud without really changing the structure of the application. We then also have the rehost where you're basically just lifting and shifting as is. You do minimal changes, and you're using it as an infrastructure as code system, or not as infrastructure as code, infrastructure as a service platform. So you're not really getting any benefits for it. From there, we can move into the modern apps and reshaping with Gen AI. So I'll let my colleagues explain that.
Yeah, and I think that there's great potential in just reshaping the applications that we have and infusing them with generative AI. This allows us to build on the investments already made, but we also unlock new opportunities for efficiency and innovation. So, for instance, if we have an application that is very data intensive, we can add a chat interface to increase user productivity, because now we allow the users to find data that in an intuitive and fast way, that we also can add follow-up questions and so on, which could be hard in a system where we need to find specific data and tie it together. So this can make our users move faster and be more efficient at their work.
Yeah, and I think that also ties into the changes in processes, right? So you're going to see a lot of processes that are, accelerated or completely removed or generated that involve capabilities of intelligent solutions such as extracting information, summarizing information, structuring output, creating new types of insights on ever changing environments and data. It's really going to include a capability to unlock the unstructured and unlock the dynamic. And I think that's what's going to be a really cool impact in how businesses achieve outcomes in the processes that they execute on. So I think it's going to be an exciting space.
Great, John. And you're right. We see a lot of our clients already building bots, agents using these hyperscaler features that are already available. Yeah. But I feel just as our clients struggled when the cloud wave hit us, and we all started, moving to cloud, building new apps in cloud without the base being future-proof. There seems to be a similar wave with these bots and apps and agents that's getting built. So to all of you and Pop especially, is there some best practices of how to not only take the first steps, but to take the right first steps in building these intelligent apps?
Sure. So let me share the voice with John on what we name the intelligent app journey. So as you can see, we are mostly dividing the journey into 4 main steps: envision, foundation, realize, and roll out. So first, let's define what we discussed already on the different paths we are seeing: reshaping intelligent apps, so infusing these new capabilities into existing application, but also building and create and fulfill some new businesses and opportunity with intelligent apps, building intelligent apps. And what we are seeing here, especially with the existing, we need to assess. So we need in some way to get all the benefits and to envision all the benefits that we can get from GenAI, from agentic and intelligent apps, and to see through a kind of assessment matrix approach what are the best candidates to fulfill and to get improved, infused by GenAI. In the other hand, a good practice of discovery or product discovery can be seen to build new intelligent apps. Based on that, for sure, there is a next step to act now. I will say it many times. So having easy step going through POC, through experimentation for fast prototyping, and going through all the steps in a more mature way of the foundation. And when we talk about foundation, we are mostly talking about platform, and in some way, to demystify this well-seen term of platform, it is to predefine and to reuse anything that could be meaningful to build or to infuse GenAI and agentic capabilities into application, but also to govern in the right way this application. So this is mostly the main step that we are seeing, for sure, envisioning. But as far as we are starting with 3+ use cases, the need for foundation is coming more and more in the client context. John, I let you continue on the next step.
Fully agree. The foundations are key to moving forward. But once you get to the realization stage, it's not simple either. First off, you have to decide kind of what sort of agent workflow or interface you want to use. Is it going to be a simple conversational chat where a user sort of taps in the chatbot and the chatbot takes actions, responds and stuff? That's fairly easy to do with things like Copilot Studio, even Copilot ordinary agents. But then you've got things a bit more complex where you're starting to do workflow agentification, autonomous multi-agents. Now you're probably going to have to start thinking about things like semantic kernel, maybe LangChain, maybe other things like, there's lots of other systems out there that provide this functionality. So it's, how are we going to implement these systems? How are we going to develop them and make sure? Because as we said beforehand, one of the major things is the model, and the models are changing at a phenomenal rate. So we need to be able to abstract away the application from the model because we can't take hard references on those things. Otherwise, we're going to hit a wall at one point where we just, it completely blocks. So we need to figure out how we can actually use the models without actually creating strong dependencies on them. once we get to that stage, then another big problem at the minute that we're coming across is how do we test these things? It's generative AI. It creates new answers every time. How do we then test that to ensure that the answer actually responds to what we want to do? Given it's generating text, it's generating natural language. It needs to be a more sort of qualitative testing solution rather than a quantitative testing solution, where we actually, sort of almost do fuzzy testing on it. It's really, it's really interesting stuff. Obviously, once you get to that stage, you're pretty close to the end. Release, like I said before, it's all about where you're going to release it, how you're going to release it, how you're going to secure it, how you're going to ensure that you don't have data security breaches, etc. And then in the long term, it's how you maintain hypercare. How do you react? How do you detect problems in production before they actually impact majorly the system? And how maybe can we even still maintain a human in the loop in that case where it's actually it might take a bit longer to process, but at least we have a human that can validate it, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's exciting times.
And perhaps, John, let's add, for sure we put it as a sequence, but for sure it is an iterative workflow and with a continuous improvement. And I would like also to highlight exactly what you say. In some ways, the gateway for production to production, it's one of the key questions that our clients are asking a lot. Do we find until when I can release my use case in production, reaching the right quality, accuracy on my use cases?
Yeah.
It's great to see. And have we done these for some of our clients to the panel? Can you share some real life examples where we have already done this?
Yes, of course. One client that we work with manufacture product that sells globally, and with each product they sell tools that are specified for each product. And these tools, they need to be compliant with every market and then their rules and regulation, which standards is for that market. And this is a big headache, especially because a tool can be called and categorized two different things in two different markets. So if you have a lifting crane in one market, it could be something completely else in some other market. This makes it very hard to see how are we compliant. So working together with this client, we are building an intelligent app to help the engineers classify their tool. What kind of type is it in this specific market? And once we have done that, we can also say, well, these are the rules, regulations, standards that you need to be compliant with. And if you want to sell it to a different market, we can also see what are the difference that we need to adjust for to be able to go to new markets. So this gives us a result that we are faster to market, but also that we are using engineer resources more efficiently.
Yeah, I also think we're seeing a number of different use cases across the software development lifecycle. So we're seeing use cases involving vibe coding and agentic assisted coding that helps accelerate how quickly new products and services can be created. We're also seeing other examples where, say in the marketing tech space, right, where clients are looking to accelerate their marketing campaign and their sales leads. So looking at capabilities of, summarization and insight extraction and structured output to help accelerate the marketing campaign cycle. And then even things in kind of the service space, right? So not only just the generation of text and output, but actually taking actions, right? Taking actions on service calls, helping accelerate self-help capabilities, helping map complex, problems to some of your more, seasoned customer service reps, and helping to map the kind of more straightforward problems that have a standard way of handling it to some of the newer CSR reps. So it's really across a gamut of use cases. It's going to be exciting to see how all landscapes evolve through this. Pretty cool times.
Yeah, I fully agree with John. In France, we're seeing a lot of traction around use cases around how we can, improve the DevOps process and stuff, automate self-service responses and stuff to incidents, that sort of thing. So fully agree with that. Another one that we did here in France that was really quite interesting was a predictive analysis. It was detection of anomalies in financial data. Essentially, what we did was we were, tracking all the vehicles and stuff as they floated about Europe, and making sure that they weren't actually, the same badge was being used by multiple people that couldn't actually ever be possible to do. So they were sort of going from A to B faster than the speed of light, sort of thing. So we had all sorts of interesting things around that. And another one that we're currently working on as a sort of POC is around pharmaceuticals and how we can compile lists for clinical testing based on medical data and stuff, and then create a sort of exchange with the patient to see if they're interested in participating in a rollout of a drug test, for example. So yeah, like John says, lots of interesting stuff coming. I think it's going to be great the next couple of years. To be honest, I really think it's going to be exciting.
Great examples, John. And in fact, I was recently talking to an airline client, and the discussion was to use the operational data of the airline and see how we can improve the customer experience. Two very different elements within an airline organization, but to be able to use the fuel recharging or waiting time or de-icing time to make the customer experience better by keeping them pre-informed with the amount of sensors and data that comes in are kind of things that they're starting to see how agents can talk within each other and bring forth that information quickly to enhance the experience. Yeah. So very nice examples. And in fact, I will at this point mention about our guide that we have published on the website as well. Accelerate time to market through intelligent apps. Yeah, it's co-authored with Microsoft. So please do take some time to visit the Sogeti.com website and download the guide, where you will get to see these scenarios. You will get to see these client cases where we have discussed these elements as well. But with all of this, there must be some challenges as well, right? Because every new technology has its own share of problems, issues that both clients and partners need to solve. What are the top challenges that you really see at scale?
So I think everything needs to start with responsible AI. I think it's a focus that we really take seriously here at Sogeti, looking at making sure that we have guardrails to secure bias, making sure that we, as we're working on solutions, we don't overfit certain biases into the solutions that we make. These are going to be real important capabilities. Making sure that there's transparency, making sure that there's insights into how things resulted from those intelligent solutions, right? Because they are so dynamic, they can address diverse and changing landscapes quite effectively. But with that comes, maybe a little bit of Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. So you really got to take note of that. I think some other challenges that we're going to see is part of the whole point of what we're doing here is there is a lot of different marketing and branding that is calling itself AI powered, and so I think just the spirit of what we're doing here is something that we need to take seriously. I think that fits into the responsible AI. I think I'll share one more thing, that is, there needs to be a foundation established as you're developing these solutions, right? That foundation needs to include observability. It needs to include governance. It needs to include guardrails. Some of them are industry perspective guardrails. Others are contextualized into your own organization, right? So there's a lot of depth that goes into making sure that we're creating solutions that, while intelligent, we can't forget that the outcome is about creating value, right? Value that does no harm. So I think that's important.
So we are displaying some of the questions that we are seeing in client context. But if I would like to complete what you say, John, I will focus mainly on three challenges. The first one is to be unclear or too narrow on use cases. So the challenge that many organizations are facing is to struggle to identify high value, feasible GenAI use case, or focus too narrowly on chatbots or demo without really a business impact. So here, just to tackle the challenge, starting with a use case portfolio, balancing quick wins on different type of solution like knowledge assistant, copilot for internal tools can be a main differentiation. Second, so you talk already about it, but to reinforce this speech on the too fragmented and unscalable architecture. So many organizations build isolated POC, prototype solution with custom code or not really use a baseline or kit, leading to duplicate effort, inconsistent performance, and also already difficult to maintain because we are in a fast-growing technical world with GenAI. So again, here on this challenge, adopting a GenAI app platform can provide pragmatically reusable component, all the orchestration layer. You mentioned also observability. So at the end, we need also to demystify what we are doing, working on intelligent apps and especially on GenAI and agentic solution. It's like creating distributed services with smart capabilities like we made in the past, with new frameworks, with new technology, with new capabilities. So platform remain a key aspect that our clients are challenging. And lastly, more on the human side, organization silo and skill gaps. So we are seeing also a lack of expertise on some teams that are working too much in silo, on the different new discipline, like for example, prompt engineering or agentic thinking, not really spread in the different companies, team of the company. So here really launching any initiative of enablement, could be a center of enablement or could be something different, or community of practice, can really drive collaboration, a shared standard, and incorporating teams, but teams from AI, from data, from apps, and more predominantly the business expert that we need to incorporate in this discussion. So let's share in a nutshell, scaling GenAI into intelligent apps is a team sport.
Great, Bob. Thank you. We already are starting to see some smarter applications with hyper-personalizations in our day-to-day lives. Even with these challenges, there are several industries which are 2 steps ahead. You take Netflix, for example, as a simple one. The content gets curated on the kind of movies and shows that you watch. Or we look now at our banking apps. They're transforming into more intelligent financial tools that will optimize your spends and give you your budget for next year. So when do you start seeing these become more usual? And what is the future you are envisioning of these intelligent apps that come into play?
I can't remember where it was, but there was somewhere I was reading lately where they suggested that between now and 2026, something like 30% of applications will have some sort of intelligence involved. When we actually break that down, that's a huge figure. 30% of all apps will have intelligence involved. Clearly there's a massive upskilling that we need to do and drive to take that forward. How are we going to see them come in? Like I say, you've got ones that will probably start off with easy stuff, taking co-pilots, using co-pilots to handle it. Microsoft Copilot's fairly easy, fairly quick to integrate that into your existing process, especially if you're using things like Power Apps and all. So I could see that ramping up slowly. And then we're seeing a lot of traction at the minute around agentic AI. In France, virtually there's hardly a week goes by that somebody doesn't contact me about doing a demo, doing a presentation around agentic AI. So that's clearly going to go off the scale. And I think that's going to be a big trend coming up in the next couple of years. Then, as it shows in the slide, you've got the final solution where you've got basically one app that rules them all, one interface to your company that allows you to do everything behind it. And that, I think there's a lot of companies, I think, for example, Facebook and Apple, I think, or Microsoft as well, are working towards this idea of a single vision, a single point of entry where you can then contact everything and handle everything behind it. I think that will come, but it will take a while. So yeah, it is definitely ramping up in a big way, and I think it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of effort, a lot of late nights for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we see it every day. Everyone wants to be in on it. So the transformation, it's starting here, but I think we're still stuck in a bit like John said, we want co-pilots and chatbots because that's what's known. So we are in the early stages. Should we compare it to the evolution of the web, we'd probably be in the late 1990s where we were in intelligent apps. So, but I think it's growing, and the potential is when we start reshaping our current businesses and not only focuses on adding new stuff like Copilot and so on. But I think in a couple of years at least, we will have more of a business landscape where AI is AI first in so to speak on all levels. So it's not seen as a threat, but more like a natural way to expect how are we conducting business, how are we building application, and we have moved away from it's a chatbot and it's a threat to our jobs. So in a couple of years it must mature.
Enjoy.
Great discussion.
If I may to complete,
Yeah, sure,
what is interesting is as we are displaying on this chart, we started 2-3 years ago talking about Copilot, that are in reality a single agent. We moved in a fast way to this new world of agentic, a new way to describe a kind of free orchestration. And what is interesting now under this discussion of intelligent apps, we're in some way closing the loop because we are seeing intelligent apps conversational, agentic AI with tools and services. And if we are making a really simple mapping compared what we know all about modern apps, conversational, it's a kind of new front end. Agentic AI is the new algorithm or the new workflows. And tool services are the new microservices on backend for applications. So it gives me in some way the feeling that now we are in some way closing the loop, being, if we are talking about the hype after the peak, and now starting to infuse these capabilities into the happen process of our client. So in some way, what we can add also is to say, now we will see more and more Gen AI and agentic solutions that will be able to act, not just to inform, not just to generate something, but to do something, to do an update, an interaction with internal or external system. So it is probably what we are seeing for the next months, year.
I think you're right, Bob, and Johan and John as well. So I think it's becoming more of an expectation as well. If we move into this journey, apps that will not become intelligent, not become conversational, not be able to decide some of the basic elements within the guardrails that you put in, you will start losing or not attracting your consumers as well. Yeah, so it's quicker than we really expect, and it's coming in fast. Yeah, so great insights. If I was to wrap this up, we debunked it, we looked at case studies, we looked at challenges, we looked at the journey. If I would request all of you to give one takeaway or call to action to our viewers on being able to embrace this journey of intelligent apps, what would be the one key one that each of you would suggest?
I think the main one for me would be go and play with it. Once you actually go and play with it, you will start seeing what it's capable of doing. From that point, you'll have little light bulbs exploding in your head going, oh, I could maybe do that. Could maybe do that. Oh, I must look at that. And then you'll sort of start developing, ideas, use cases that you can fairly quickly, if you've got a, MSDN license or subscription, you can fire up a Copilot pretty easily, and go play with it. See what's capable of doing. You'll learn, you'll advance, you'll maybe make some mistakes, but just playing with it, you will see the world of capabilities that exists with this stuff. And to me, that's something that I haven't seen since the sort of start of the web. Showing me age a bit, but to me, it's just incredible. And I think we need more people to play with it, to see what it's capable of doing, so that they're more and more convinced. Once I first started out, I wasn't 100% convinced. It's an algorithm, it's working out statistics and stuff. But more and more I've used it, and more I see the benefits of using it. It allows me to code faster, debug faster, put things into production faster. It's a time saver, and the fact that we can use that then to create complex workflows, it's just something that to me is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I totally agree with John, and I mean I totally agree that you should start somewhere. Not you can't wait and see where this is heading. I mean, you must start to see how can it benefit our organization, how can we benefit from it, and not only like doing a proof of concept that never hits the target audience, but put it out there and see, and then redo if it's not the best thing that you ever done, then redo it, do something new, but you will learn during it's a journey.
Yeah. So Johan earlier mentioned AI first. I think that's going to be a focus for a lot of the organizations as time goes by. For me, the call to action would be maybe a lesson learned from history. When we look at our journey to the cloud, right? A lot of it started with lift and shift, and then figure some stuff up when we got out there, right? That was the typical journey for a lot of our clients. So I don't think the call to action is really just about experiment and play. I think that's going to be pretty natural for people. I think the call to action is make sure you have an architecture that supports the rapid change that's going to evolve in this industry. It's going to continue to change. New foundation models are going to continue to get better and grow and change, and formats will change. New protocols will come out. So make sure that you have an architecture that can be adaptable to that, and also an architecture that is infused with those core governance, observability, principles of responsible AI. So that would be my call to action.
On my side, it would be a clear and unique advice. It's really build, govern, and scale your GenAI use case on your journey with a platform, establishing a robust foundation to sustain and expand, lays the groundwork. You can't move forward without a scalable GenAI application platform that support experimentation, governance, security, enable safe and agile scaling, integrate governance early to manage risk while allowing innovation to grow, not denying these features and capabilities in your context, and productize success, evolve from isolated pilots to reusable enterprise-grade solution.
Thank you, Pop. As always, I ask you for one call to action, but you gave quite a few of them, so great. But one of the things that really came out from our conversation is we need to look at the platform part of it. We really need to have a robust platform on top of which you can put in the governance, like John was saying, everything around the observability part of it, the guardrails part of it needs to come up from there so that we can land the right apps on it. And simply, we need to be fast and quick because technology change is not happening now in decades or even years. It's happening in months and days. So if we don't have that platform to launch up on it, then we will be out of the game. So that's it. That's very, very nice insight. I would like to wrap this up with, firstly, thank you to the entire panel. Fantastic to share our insights with the audience, but to all our viewers as well. Please engage us. We are here to support you. If you go to the website, you will get to see some of the jump starts that we have also put in. We can come in, help you look at your readiness for your apps journey, for the AI apps journey that you have. We can look at doing a very quick AI app platform setup with you and your teams to start the first, I won't say POCs, but the first implementations of it on that robust journey that we were talking about. Yeah. So visit our website for all the details on intelligent apps, and don't forget to download the guide that I mentioned on accelerating your journey to your AI app development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed it.